Iran just called the U.S. Navy pirates and threatened every port in the Gulf. The unified command of the Iranian armed forces has issued a strongly worded statement declaring that the United States blockade of vessels entering or exiting Iranian ports constitutes an illegal act that amounts to piracy under international law. And this announcement came directly after U.S. Central Command confirmed that American naval forces will begin implementing a full maritime blockade of all traffic moving into or out of Iranian ports located on the Arabian Gulf and the Sea of Oman beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, April the 13th, 2026, with CENTCOM stressing that the operation will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations that attempt to dock at or depart from Iranian coastal areas, while also clarifying that the blockade will not impede freedom of navigation for ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz, so long as those vessels are traveling to or from non-Iranian ports. And President Donald Trump separately stated that the U.S. Navy will seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran and will begin destroying mines that Iran placed in the strait, warning that any Iranian ship that fires at the United States will be blown to hell. And in direct response, the Iranian armed forces told state broadcaster IRIB that the ports of the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman are either for everyone or for no one, and that the Islamic Republic considers defending the legal rights of the country a natural and legal duty, which means exercising sovereignty in its territorial waters is the natural right of the Iranian nation, adding that enemy-affiliated vessels will not have the right to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, while other vessels will be allowed passage subject to regulations set by Tehran. And the statement further warned that if the security of Iranian ports is threatened, then no port in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman will be safe. And the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy echoed this by insisting it has full control of the strait, and that the waterway remains open for non-military vessels under smart control and management in accordance with specific regulations, but emphasized that any approach by military vessels toward the strait would be treated as a violation of the ceasefire agreement and would face a strong and forceful response. And this escalation follows the collapse of peace talks in Islamabad between U.S. and Iranian negotiators that ended without a deal, after which Trump announced the blockade to stop what he called world extortion by Iran, claiming Iran has been charging tolls on vessels going through the strait and had lost track of the mines it laid down, which scared ships from traversing the waterway. And the tolls would violate Trump's ceasefire condition that the Strait of Hormuz remain open. And the implications for global energy are immediate, because more than a fifth of the world's seaborne oil supplies flow through the Strait of Hormuz annually, and Iran exported 1.84 million barrels per day of crude in March, and has shipped 1.71 million barrels per day so far in April, compared with a full-year average of 1.68 million barrels per day in 2025, according to Kepler data. While a surge in Iranian output before the war started on February 28th has led to near-record levels of Iranian oil loaded on ships, with more than 180 million barrels floating as of earlier this month, and retired Admiral Gary Rowehead, a former chief of U.S. naval operations, cautioned that Iran could fire on ships in the Gulf or attack the infrastructure of Gulf states that host U.S. forces, and Gulf News published a breaking graphic stating Iran military says U.S. naval blockade illegal and piracy, while Al Jazeera highlighted Tehran's for everyone or no one position, and Arab News ran a carousel calling it Iran's escalating maritime posture, and CENTCOM's official Facebook page released a formal statement confirming the April 13th start time for the blockade, and Iran's Navy statement carried by two semi-official Iranian news agencies said the Strait of Hormuz is open for passage of non-military vessels under specific regulations. and Trump claimed the ceasefire deal last week meant Iran would allow the strait to be reopened, but accused Iran of attempting to charge tolls. And analysts now warn that blocking Iranian shipments would disconnect a significant source of oil from world markets and could trigger an energy crisis larger than those in 1973, 1979, or 2022. And the situation remains volatile, as the U.S. says it will enforce the blockade impartially, while Iran says any threat to its ports means no port in the region will be safe. And both sides insist the other is violating international norms, as the world watches whether the Strait of Hormuz remains open and whether global oil flows face disruption in the coming days.